Hi, I'm Rick Stivers with YoungMartin'sReels, and today we're going to be working on this Zebco Cardinal 4 fishing reel. It's got an issue. First off, it's a very nice reel. I just picked it up yesterday. It come in an eBay shipment that I had, and it actually works very well except for the bail, and the bail needs some help. And one of the problems that the bail has is it has the wrong screw. Now this should be, I believe, and I don't have the parts breakdown or schematic for this, it should be a shouldered screw that bottoms out right here, and that would leave this free to spin. Once it's got that screw out, it trips okay. So it's being held on that by the screw being too tight. So I don't have the proper shouldered screw for it. So, and these washers stacked up here aren't helping anything. They're too big to go down in the hole to give us the shouldering effect. So when you tighten it down, all it's doing is wedging down against this piece, keeping it from being able to do what it's doing. The screw is probably, we're going to test this theory. It's probably too short to screw all the way down in. Yeah, it bottoms out against, well, hang on. Let me get the spring engaged first. And we might be able to use just this without the washers and maybe get it to work. Let's see here. Well, I think part of the problem is the spring is slightly bent. So even when it's lined up with the hole, it doesn't want to go into the hole. Let's take the spring out. Spring is in there pretty snug. Let's see if we can take it out. There we go. Yeah, see, the spring is bent. I'm going to try to straighten it just slightly without bending it, or without breaking it. There. Let's get that a little bit first. All right, spring back in the hole, and now let's do one spring hole. There we go. Spring is in the hole. Now put the pin in. Now let's put the screw in. I still think it's going to be too short to bottom out prior to everything getting where it needs to be. Don't know if it's grabbing it or not. Yeah. Okay, well, we still got some work to do on that. I'm thinking it may need some lubrication as well. It's pretty dirty in there. But anyway, what's probably going to happen, first off, this bail is a little bit sprung. When I take it off, when I take the screw out, the bail doesn't fit solid up against the frame. It's close, but it's not directly up against. And what that can do, let's go ahead and take the spring out so the spring's not causing us any problem there. Okay, what that does is when you get it tight, when you tighten it down, this is putting force up against the screw, causing drag. So what we got to do is rebend this bail so that it fits exactly right where it's supposed to be and not off kilter. Okay, but before we get into trying to and this is a very heavy bail. This is not a lightweight bail. This thing is very heavy duty. So before we even get to that, let's go ahead and take the other side apart and clean this bail assembly and clean out inside it. Get all that grease and dirt out there. And once we've done that, then we can see about properly doing it. Okay, now see, this screw is not shouldered either. So it bottoms out in the hole prior to tightening down all the way. What I really need is to see if I can find me another one of these. I'll go look in the box in a little bit, see if I can find one. But this is a rather interesting thing, is that this reel is double springed. It has a spring on this side and a spring on the other side. I've never seen that before. I've only ever seen one single bail spring on a reel. So the fact that they built this thing with double bail springs That says a lot. There's a lot of build capability there. But this screw, I think I happen to have one very similar to that. I was thinking I had to have a shouldered screw, but maybe I don't. So maybe if I get the bail in right and get the screw down right, maybe we'll be in set, because I think I might have that screw. Anyway, let's go on here and let's take the spool off. You just push the button in the top of the spool and lift out, and the spool will come out. Normally, I tell people not to take their bails off because it gets so difficult trying to get the springs reset and everything back where it belongs. But yeah, there's a lot of dirt and grease down inside this bail. It's probably keeping it from operating properly. So we're going to take it, we're going to go ahead and do a full dismantle on this. The only thing I'm not going to take apart, I'm not going to take this portion off of the bail. We're going to leave that in place. We're just going to scrub up the ends of it. And it's, wow, that's really gritty and dirty. But there is a small shoulder right there that fits down inside. On each side, it fits down inside. But this thing is caked full of old dried grease, and I think if we take all that out of there and get a proper size screw on the other side, I think we'll have this bail right up and running again. All right, we've got that out. At this point, I believe we can remove the handle. Okay, it's got the handle removed. We've got one screw holding the side plate on. Believe it or not, the thinner screwdriver and smaller screwdriver is going to work better on this one. Okay. All right, now this cap is spring loaded right here. Let's see what that does for us. All right, this little metal rod right here, let's zoom in a little bit so you can see better. I've got a bad habit of zooming in and then people can't see because I move it off camera. See this spring assembly right here? It took me a minute to figure that out. I thought it was a spring, and it is a spring, but what its purpose is, it's on this clicker right here for the drag. Okay, so that's your drag clicker. Click, 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 click. All right, so that's what that does. There's not anything to have to worry about because that doesn't come out. So leave that in. This looks like there's a washer here, but there's not. That's simply where this has been, where this stud on your main gear has been riding. Okay. Okay, let's see what else we have in here. Can you see? Yeah, okay, you still see visible. All right, I believe what we have here is a C-clip. Let's clean it off a little bit so we can see it better. And remember, folks, like many of you, I'm going into this reel for the first time. I've never been into one of these reels before. If you have something like this and you're trying to go into it, make sure you've got a video camera running or a camera or something so you can see exactly how everything fits. This is our crosswind assembly here. What that does is as the main gear turns, let me slip this back in so that I can demonstrate it for you. It's fun sometimes to see how all of these parts interchange and work. And now let go of that. Now see, as this rotates, that's your main gear rotating. Your anti-reverse operating up here. And there is a switch here that turns that on and off. As you flip it this way, that lifts the pawl up off of the anti-reverse gear. Okay, let's go back to this skipping thing. That's what we're hearing. Grip mechanism for our bail. That's what we're hearing clicking. Okay. All right, so there, I don't have anything going on in here that's wrong. So far we're looking good. Let's see if we can figure out how to, I know we've got a C-clip here for taking this off, but I'm not sure how we take the pin out of the axle shaft here yet. I've got to look at that. There's a screw, but that's not a screw there. Unless it's screwed in from the other side. Does the other side remove? No, it doesn't. Okay. So, we're going to take out this C-clip, and I've got a little tool here I made for doing that. You can use a screwdriver flat to do it, but this one doesn't work all that well. I misdesigned it, and I'm going to be redesigning it when I come up with a new design. I will show you how it works. It does still work, but not as adequately as it could. Take this, pick that C-clip up out of there. C-clip, E-clip, whichever you wish to call it. Okay, now this will lift up off of that post, like so, and that brings it around to this side. Now, let's see what holds the pin on this side. I still see nothing except that pin. I've yet to figure out how to take it out. Wait a minute. Well, let's see if it's simply a pin that pushes out. Doesn't appear to be. Ah, got it. Wow, they kind of hid that one on me. All right. If you look at the back, let's see if you can see. See if I can get this in the camera. I'm going to zoom in some more. They kind of hid this on me. Let's see if you can see it now. All right, I'm going to hold that right there. If you look right here, there is a C-clip installed right here on the end of the shaft. And that C-clip is what holds your crosswind assembly on. So I don't know if I'll be able to get it into the picture for you to see it as I take this out, but it took me a minute to even find the C-clip. It's kind of dirty under there. I had to wipe it off real good to get it to see it. But with that C-clip out, I believe that this will come right out. Okay, special homemade tool. This isn't in camera view, but it's kind of difficult to even get in there. Okay, that got the C-clip off. And of course it's probably out of your camera view as I did it. There's our C-clip removed. And we'll set it over here with the other one so the two appear to be the same size. Alright, with that off, now you can pull the axle shaft out and you can pull out the crosswind assembly. Go ahead and take the handle back off. You've seen enough moving around in there. Zoom back out a little bit. Alright, with that axle shaft pulled out, let me show you. The axle shaft simply pulled out here, and that pulled it out of the crosswind assembly. So when it came out, I was able to just lift the crosswind assembly out. Okay, now we can take the main gear out. Okay, hang on a second. Let's not lose this. There is a washer or shims that go right here on this shaft or on the stud for the crosswind. Let's see how many there are. And it could vary depending on your reel, because it's something they did at the factory. They shim things to make it fit the tolerances. This particular one has 2 shims that go on that stud right there. And then there's another shim on the back side over here of the gear. Let's see if there's any that stayed inside. No, okay. So 1 shim on there. You gotta keep track of those, because if you don't put them back where they belong, when everything goes back together, the tolerances are no longer met and you end up with a loose, sloppy reel. Okay. Okay, we're still getting that click, and I'm almost certain that that's inside here, and it's caused by the bail trip. So I've got to get a socket to fit this. All right, with that done, we come back here I'll take this nut off of the rotor assembly. Take that out. I'm going to put these two shims over here with the main gear so they don't get lost. Okay, that removed the nut, and this keeper or locking assembly is what locks this rotor to the pinion shaft, and then the nut holds it in place, but this is what actually locks it, not the tightness of the nut. Okay, with that done, we're going to slip the rotor up and off, and okay, this right here, if you'll look there, boy, that's heavy. See this clip right? This is your rotor release right here, and it's riding right here, and that's what we were hearing going click, 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 click as I was rotating it around. Can you see inside there? Let's see, yeah, like that. There we go. And we're going to scrub all this up, get it nice and clean. I'm not going to take this assembly out. I don't really think it's necessary. I mean, it wouldn't be difficult to do. So, you know what? I will go ahead and take it out. So I'm going to show you how to do that too. These videos really should be about how to do it all, if I can at all do so. So let's do that. Hold your release assembly over all the way against the stop, and then I use a straight pin to get hold of the spring, and there went the spring right over my shoulder. That's what you got to be careful of. Okay, I warn you all the time to leave things be that don't need to be messed with. One of the things that doesn't need to be messed with is this spring assembly here. This one that you see in here right now is not the original spring that came in this, and if I find it, I will most certainly come back and put it in. This was another one that I had that I installed because I let the first one get away from me. And so what we're going to do, we're going to scrub this up. We're going to leave that in, and I think that's probably the smarter. I know better than to do that. There's not a lot of dirt in there, anything that's hurting anything. So I've managed to get another spring, install it in here, and we're going to scrub this up and put it back together that way. So again, like I said, leave things alone that don't need to be messed with. That's going to bring us to here. We've got a bearing right here that has a snap ring, and that's going to need a pair of snap ring pliers to get it out of there. You're not going to do that with a pair of screwdrivers or a pick. I have a set. I don't know if they're good enough to do the job anymore. One side of it is bent ever so slightly, and that has a tendency to let it slip off. Let's see if I can bend it back without breaking it. Okay, there we go. Let's put this in. Okay, that got it up out of the groove. Now we should be able to, and please be careful, springs take off. They love to launch themselves when they come out under tension. So if you feel the need to take this bearing out, which I do because I want to clean up under it, keep your fingers over the spring so that it can't pop up out of there and go sailing. There we go. Got the snap ring out. Now this should pull out, which it does. And that's why I wanted to take it out. This worm gear is pretty dirty. So we're going to scrub that up clean. That is a really nicely machined part though. Alright, what does that leave in here? That leaves our drag assembly. Let's see what it takes to take the drag out, because the drag looks like it does need to be cleaned. Okay, that unscrews to loosen. It's only going to go so far, I believe. And then we have a C-clip. They do like the C-clips in here. At least I believe it's a C-clip. Appears to be. Maybe not. But I think it is. Nope, that is not a C-clip. Well, what we do have is a screw. Let's try unscrewing the screw. Okay, it is a reverse threaded screw. It holds this together. Let's turn around and look at it so we see what's going on. Okay, a reverse threaded screw. It holds this cap on. And then the cap will slide off. Notice that we have a spring that's riveted on right here. It's a clicker. Does that help us any? That provides no benefit to taking the drag out. Okay. The drag does have a plate here that will lift out. Okay, that might be for tension. Okay, that took a lot of tension off. Let's find out if these will slide up and out. I have a feeling once this is out, I'll be able to see exactly how it goes, but don't want to damage it taking it out. The drag assembly slides backwards, but none of it is given enough room to come out. That is so close. Everything is just so close to coming out, but not quite. That's within probably 0.02 of an inch of coming out there. And I don't want to bend anything. The drag washers can't come out because they're on a shaft, so you have to get the shaft out. Well, let's try doing that. Pull backwards on the shaft and it comes right out. All right. This is a stack. And I'm going to be very careful that we take that out just as it is. Set this over here. We know where that goes. All right, these are going to come out in order because I know nothing about this reel, as I've said. All right, here we go. A small screwdriver to help lift these out. All right, there's the flat washer. It's an odd shape, and it fits with the flat side along the inside edge. Okay, it goes here. What is next? Next is what appears to be a white Teflon washer, but it could be metal. Until I get it cleaned good, I won't know the difference. Okay, then there's another washer. Okay, this one is keyed. It has a point on it. So it's got a flat side. Okay, then we have a fabric washer. Alright, that could be an asbestos washer for all I know. Then we have another keyed washer with a little point on it. Then we have another fabric washer. followed up by a final keyed washer. All right. Wow, what a beast that is. Very well engineered. It's not made for maintenance though. It's made to be put together one time and not really taken apart over and over. So now that that's out, this will lift right out, of course. And anything else in here? No. All right. So there's our ratchet. That's plastic, so you got to be very careful with that, because that's probably a 70-year-old plastic piece. And what in the world holds this in? Well, now that it's like that, now this will come right out this side. Okay. So everything is ready to scrub up and get clean, and we can start the assembly process once it's clean. We're going to go to solid. This is it's not a sealed bearing, but it's a shielded bearing. I'm going to wipe it off and douse it down good with some real oil. Let that soak into it. It's a shielded bearing. It's not a sealed bearing, so that oil will go down into it, especially if you rotate it some. All right, I'm going to go into cleaning mode now, which means everything's going to go quiet while I scrub all these parts up.